As you know, Bronxites are known to express their opinions, and I think we're going to hear some very important information here this evening, and I look forward to that and some good suggestions. And I want to thank the members of the audience who came here in a very strong turnout. I want to thank you for coming out and expressing your concerns, and I want to especially acknowledge our new borough president, Ruben Diaz Jr., who really has a tremendous spirit of the Bronx and pride in the borough, and I think that he really represents the future for our borough. So thank you. And he's also not shy about speaking his mind either. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to a lively discussion, as we all do, in determining how we move forward to the future of our city.
This is the second of 5 public hearings we will hold this month, one in each borough, with many more opportunities for public engagement over the months to come. As I have said before, this commission is deeply committed to an open and welcoming process of public involvement. A critical part of the Commission's work is to ensure that the public is afforded extensive opportunities to participate. To that end, a comprehensive outreach effort has been developed in order to gather input from New Yorkers throughout the 5 boroughs. We invite all New Yorkers to participate in this very important review process. The first public hearing was held in Manhattan on Tuesday, April 6th. After today's hearings, 3 additional public hearings will be held in April. Tomorrow we will be in Staten Island at McKee High School. That will start at 6 p.m. Following that, on Monday, April 19th at LaGuardia Community College in Queens. That will also begin at 6 p.m. And Tuesday, April 20th at St. Francis College in Brooklyn at 4 p.m. Members of the public are invited to attend and share their views at the hearings. And I want to again say that we don't have a particular cutoff point for someone to participate. As you come in, if you want to be heard, just sign in and we will acknowledge you. The public hearings in April will be followed by a series of issues forums, which will be held throughout the city during the month of May. These will be followed by additional public hearings and other meetings throughout the summer. Information about the Commission and its members can be found on its website, newyorkcity.gov/charter. Hearing schedules, transcripts, and videos are available on the site, along with downloadable copy of the current city charter and directions to hearing sites. The Commission will continue to ensure that its outreach is as broad and as deep as we possibly can make it. We very much appreciate the interest and involvement of all New Yorkers, whose input will be fully considered by members of the Commission. Before we get started with the hearing from the public, I'd like to give an opportunity to any of our Commission members who wish to make a comment or to ask a question. Anybody want to make a comment or a question before we hear from the public? Hearing none, let's begin. Let me just outline some operating guidelines for participation. I'd like to again remind you that anyone coming in now or later in the process is welcome to sign in. I will ask the members of the public who have signed up to speak first. Please be reminded that each of you will have 3 minutes to speak. We will remind you when there are 30 seconds remaining. Before we begin with the public, I'd like to ask our very distinguished Borough President, Ruben Diaz Jr., if he would like to come to the podium and make some opening remarks. Mr. Borough President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that it is fitting that you and this commission are here today at the beautiful Hostos campus. We have our presidents, Felix Matos Rodriguez. Let's give him a strong round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're the chairman of CUNY. I'm a CUNY twofer, and so it's only fitting that we're here this evening. Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the Charter Revision Commission, I want to welcome you all to what I call God's country, the Bronx. And I extend my wholehearted support to you in the execution of this most serious of missions, that is the amendment of our city charter in order to better serve all of our citizens. In executing this mission, it is imperative that this commission not serve as a vehicle to implement a preconceived political agenda in a hurried rush, but that it truly seek out and listen to the people of our great city in formulating what is best for all of us. As borough president, I spend most of my days listening to and working with my constituents to help them solve real and serious problems. To better understand what our citizens want and need, it is my hope that this commission will take its time in listening to the people of the city of New York. To that end, I am calling on the commission to ensure that all voices are heard in this process, and only then to schedule a vote on the matters before this commission. There should be many more hearings, not just in the Bronx, but in all 5 boroughs, over a longer period of time to discuss the issues that face our city. Only then will it be appropriate to schedule a vote on these important matters. I hope that this commission will also listen to the express will of the people and not look to bring old, unpopular proposals to the floor. There have been many reports that this commission will attempt to bring a question on nonpartisan elections to the voters of this city. In 2003, a similar question was defeated by a wide margin, with 7 out of 10 voters rejecting the idea. This matter, in my opinion, has been settled, and I hope the commission will use its time to discuss other, more important matters. As for myself, the concerns and proposals I will present to the commission are significant in stature and deserve measured consideration and debate. The main point I want to convey today is that borough presidents play an extremely important role in the civic life of each of our boroughs by providing an invaluable human interface between our constituents and our behemoth city service agencies. To serve the public better, I sincerely believe that the role of the borough president should not only be protected, but our offices should also be enhanced. First, in order, that's 3 minutes already?
Go ahead.
First, in order for the borough presidents to properly do our jobs, the budgets of our office should be protected for the year after year budget cuts that have severely hampered our ability to serve the people. For example, from fiscal years 1989 through 2009, the budget for our offices have fallen from $6.1 million to my office have fallen from $6.1 million to $5.5 million, which amounts to a cut of approximately 55% in real dollars when adjusting for inflation as a result in staff reduction and more than 50% since 1989. No city offices other than the borough presidents, the public advocate, and community planning boards have suffered such a devastating long-term decline in resources. There is no doubt in my mind that these offices, which are so important to providing services on the community level, are being slowly suffocated by design. Ending this slow suffocation of our offices should be a top priority of this commission. Accordingly, the commission should prepare a proposal to provide for a baseline budget allocation similar in manner to the budget allocation for the independent budget office for each of the borough presidents, the public advocate, and the community boards. Second, I am calling for the office of the borough president to have a binding recommendation for the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, or what's better known as the ULURP process. As it stands today, a borough president's ULURP recommendations are merely that, just recommendations, and can be set aside by the City Council and the Mayor's office when it is time to make a decision on a particular development. But few are more familiar with the development needs of our neighborhoods and the community concerns that proposed developments bring to light than that of the borough presidents. For example, a negative recommendation by a borough president could, for instance, require a supermajority of 9 members of the City Planning Commission to override that no recommendation. A more binding decision in the ULURP process, such as this, is a much needed negotiating tool due to direct negotiations between the borough president's offices and developers, and will help to greatly improve the scope of development across the 5 boroughs. The city's zoning and ULURP process should also be changed to take into consideration not only environmental and traffic impacts from new capital projects, but also impacts on the community as a whole. When 10,000 units of housing are proposed to be built, the effect on the schools and the health services of the community need to be accommodated. Furthermore, to ensure objective impact analysis, the consultants conducting the impact studies should not be selected and directed by the developer, but rather chosen by the city from a pool of consultants that have little or no prior relationship with the developer. Third, I am calling on the Borough President's Office to have a greater voice in the decision on the Board of Standards and Appeals. As it is currently contrived, the power of the BSA rests entirely within the Mayor's office and does not allow for any appeals process to address the grievances of any interested party once the BSA decision has been made. Much like my aforementioned suggestion for the ULURP process, adding a binding BSA decision to the powers of our office will foster greater negotiating between businesses and developers and the communities their projects directly affect. Borough presidents should have an appointment of their own on the BSA, and the BSA should be required to accept comments from our offices, such as it is required to do so from the community boards. The Borough Service Cabinet is an important forum to assure that city services are adequately and fairly distributed throughout the boroughs. Since the last charter revision, additional agencies have been created. Some have been merged and other agency responsibilities have been expanded. These new agencies must be required to attend Borough Service Cabinet meetings. In order for the borough presidents to fulfill his or her responsibilities to monitor the quality and delivery of city services borough-wide, it is important that the borough president have authority to require the attendance of agency commissioners of departments and agencies of the City of New York at meetings for the Borough Board, Borough Service Cabinet, and any public hearings called by the borough presidents, and give testimony on issues raised at such meetings and provide all requested information. I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman. We also know that there is a needed increase for transparency of city government or in city government, and to eradicate even the perception of bias and impropriety within our halls. To that end, today I am proposing that the Conflict of Interest Board, which is currently controlled by the sitting mayor, be made completely independent. Under my proposal, no elected official would be responsible for the selection of the members of the Conflict of Interest Board or the members there. Instead, the panel would be selected by the criminal and civil administrative judges representing the 4 judicial districts that cover the 5 boroughs. Not only would this method lead to a fair, balanced, and impartial panel, it would remove any appearance of bias from the important work of the Conflict of Interest Board. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to many more hearings and many more opportunities to address this body.
What role, then, does the City Council play if we were to envision enhancing borough presidential power specifically under a binding recommendation concerning ULURP? Because I suspect that the City Council would come in, and having been a former member, and say, we don't want to cede any ground. Because again, power is finite. To give it to one, we've got to take away or subtract from another. You may have come up with a balancing act, and I would like for your office to provide us with some further details, because that's a thoughtful analysis of the situation, and it's worthy of some intense discussion.
Well, thank you for that. that inquiry, Commissioner, well, this is my thought here. When you look at the ULURP process and you look at borough presidencies, we're the only elected officials, the 5 of us are the only elected officials in the city of New York that represent or voice for the entire borough. And when you look at the ULURP process and the fact that my recommendation is just binding, and as we work with the community boards, and by the way, let me be clear here, I don't want to undermine anybody's authority here, but what I would like is for my recommendation to be taken seriously. If you look at the city council, if you look at the process now, the planning commission, none of them are elected. The city council members, if you on any particular project, of all of the city council members in the city of New York, only one city council person can possibly represent the area where whatever project is up for discussion is. The borough presidents also represent that area. So you could have the potentiality of the borough president who's out there representing the community where this development could be at. You can have the potentiality of many city council members outside of even the borough where the project is at, make the decision of the development going there or not without and going totally against the actual borough president's recommendation. So I believe that while many folks want to say that the borough presidencies have been reduced because of the '89 charter, I don't subscribe to that. And yet people want to take the shots at us, and they want to say that we're just symbolic. My office listens to people every single day. We, with the community boards, are out there day in and day out, and we're listening to the actual neighborhood and the actual community. So when a project is before me during the ULURP process, I hope and I wish that you guys seriously take into consideration that borough presidents need to have a binding say-so there. And even then, I'm saying that a supermajority should go back to a group of individuals, a body of individuals, where not one single one of them have been elected by the people who will be affected by said project. So I hope that as we move forward, we could explore perhaps this avenue of a supermajority of veto power on the Planning Commission, and see how is it that not only we can enhance the borough presidencies in the area of the ULURP process, but also in other areas, and like I mentioned, for instance, our budgets.
Thank you, Mr. Borough President. We're going to have ample opportunity when we return to this great borough to get involved in a discussion like this. I want to acknowledge, do you have another question? I'd like to get to the rest of our people who want to testify tonight. I thank you very much for your informed testimony, and we look forward to further engagements with you at other times when we're back here. Robert Press.
Thank you, Commissioner. The City Law Department has said what this Charter Revision Commission can and cannot do at your first meeting on March 19th. However, true to form, the 15 of you were appointed by Mayor Bloomberg, and most likely you will do whatever Mayor Bloomberg proposes, with 1 or 2 exceptions. Be careful, though, as it is the public, and each of us represents thousands of people who will be voting on whatever you come up with. We know that the mayor wants to do away with the public advocate position, and I personally would agree with that. But I would like to see the leader of the City Council elected by the people of the City of New York, as was the case before the change to public advocate position. As Borough President Diaz has said, the Borough President's position needs to be amplified and not cut back. Community boards, which there is word that this commission may try to eliminate or cut back their powers, are the lifeline of involved neighborhoods. Community boards, again, need to be enhanced, as several of you were community board chair people and still serve on community boards. As for the issue on term limits, we had one Bronx City Council member say that he voted for the term limit extension because he needs to have 10 years in office to get his pension. I think that that's a good idea. There should be 10 years of a limit on a City Council member's office, but it should be 5 2-year terms, not 4, 4, and 4, which is 12. 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 equals 10, and that's not the new math. Just about anything else that you propose would be a negative to this commission. As you have seen, the past few commissions have come up with ideas that have been voted down. So I hope that you don't come up with any ideas that the public will vote down. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Joseph Garden. I'm sorry, did I pronounce your name incorrectly?
Garber, G-A-R-B-E-R.
Okay.
Good evening, Chair Goldstein, distinguished members of the Commission. I'm especially happy to be at a CUNY institution since I attended CUNY at John Jay College many moons ago for 2 degrees. And I want to give a special greeting to my friend, Councilor Tony Crowell of the Mayor's Office, and greet Lorna Goodman, who's returning to government. I know of her stellar record at the Corporation Counsel's office. I was shocked beyond belief on Tuesday, April 6th, when I came home from shul after finishing Pesach and put on New York 1 to see a charter revision hearing, which I had no knowledge about, number one. Number two, even if I wanted to go from Williamsburg, I had no idea when it would end. I think it's a disgrace and a shanda that with a Jewish chancellor and a Jewish mayor and some Jewish members, and in general, CUNY has always been respectful of all religious rights and liberties, that we had this. Therefore, I would humbly suggest, Mr. Chancellor, that you ask the mayor to increase one further hearing with all the hearings that you had in mind. Okay, let me get into the nuts and bolts of this. Since this is a charter revision hearing and I'm a public administration person, I'd like to get into, as per press release number 96, the mayor gave a mandate to review the entire city charter and how to recommend how to improve it. At the outset, let me suggest an intellectual study which could be performed by agency staff or graduate students in a CUNY or non-CUNY schools, such as John Jay College, Hunter College, the Wagner School of NYU, the Law of Government and Public Law of Columbia. I suggested a comparison be done analyzing the agency functions enumerated in the city charter, plus the agency description in a mayor's management report or a pre-mayor's management report, and also looking at the functional analysis in the Green Book. I've done a little of it in volunteer capacities, and you'd find very interesting, and as the Talmud said, you'd find many steeris, many contradictions between functions, number of positions, etc., etc. Being I'm very interested in research methodology, I'd like to start out talking about Chapter 72, page 348 of the Charter about DORIS, Department of Records and Information Services, which the City Hall Library, which is close and dear to my heart. I started going to the City Hall Library when it was known as the Municipal Reference and Research Center on the 23rd floor of the municipal building. And it's a shame at this moment that there are only 2 employees working there. Okay, on page 350, page 2, the term Municipal Reference and Research Center should be changed to City Hall Library as per page 285 of the Green Book. In addition, the library currently is only open 2 days a week. I will continue, God willing, at the other sessions. Thank you.